Hello and welcome to Black Economics TV. We have with us today Ayo Benson. He is a coach and an accountant, and he has 101 stories that he'd love to share with you, but we told him to pick his best few today. So, how are you, Ayo? Welcome.
Uh, Thank you, Don, for inviting me. I think we've tried to do this a few times and we couldn't. Yeah, time always gets in the way. Thank you for inviting me. And let me say, what you're doing is awesome in terms
Oh,
of Black economics. Um, I can see the amount of work going into it behind the scenes that people don't see. It is very important to commend people with vision, and having the vision is not enough, but be able to do the hard work to actualize that vision. And I'm sure what you've done is great, but I believe that you are even going greater. So, well done for what you're doing, and I'm happy to be here.
okay. Thank you very much. Also to say to the audience that Ayo has appeared two other times on this channel on at two events. One was at a conference. We had an online conference a few years ago. Another time was at the Men's Forum when you spoke about your family and being a dad and so on. So
Mhm.
that was pretty good. I'll give links to those as well under the video. But it's nice to actually see different facets of people. And your story itself is an example of what we should aim for. So
Mhm.
thank you for what you do also. So tell us and tell the world, what is it that you do and what are the heights of your achievements?
Excellent question, Don. What do I do? What I do now, I trained as a chartered accountant and I worked in corporate for so many years. And I started an e-commerce business about 15 years ago, and I took it to multi-million pounds,
Oh,
and then
wow.
I sold it. And then I was a bit depressed because I
You got
felt,
bored.
yeah, I felt okay. I thought this is what I wanted. Why am I feeling so empty?
Oh,
So now I started taking stock and I realized, which is a story I'm going to tell you about my childhood when we get there, which I think I better tell the story because it's about why I do what I do. Okay.
okay.
Growing up, we lost our dad very, very young. We were very little at the time. And we got into poverty very quickly uh, for two reasons. One, the extended family, if you're not from Africa, you may not understand, actually came in and took some of the resources that we should have used and shared it. So
Wow.
left my mom to have to fend for five children on her own.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was difficult, but the positive side is we got help from other people. And as young as I was at the time, I thought to myself, hmm, why are these people helping us? Okay, when I grow up, I'm gonna help other people too.
oh,
So, yeah, I promptly forgot that promise. Chasing money and
as you do.
yeah, and all of that. And then, so when I started feeling that emptiness, and I remember that, okay, this is what I promised, and the best way for me to do that is to actually help other people directly. I have this gift. You may call it intuition. Uh, it's for me to have empathy with others, but also to see solutions that most people can't see. If I talk to someone for like 10 minutes, I will see uh, what their problem is without them saying it directly. And I have the knack of actually guiding them. I don't tell them what to do. I will guide them to see what they cannot see themselves.
Mm.
So when we were young, my father told me that, I would sit on his lap. I didn't remember any of it, that I would ask him hundreds and hundreds of questions about everything. And they would be,
Mm.
how did a small boy like this, how does he understand all of these intricacies of life? So I realized that that is a gift, and I have to use that gift, and that is why I went into coaching and actually trained, having trained as a chartered accountant, so I had to train as a coach, so that some people have talent and gifts, they don't develop it, so it doesn't grow, and they can't maximize the gift. So I actually went for training, went to a lot of seminars, read a lot of books, and so I started the coaching business. And I didn't even start it on purpose as a business. I just started it helping others. And people started asking me, can I pay you for this? Or can we do this for longer? So that's how I got into coaching. And it's been wonderful since then. I've got so many stories, even celebrities that, I've worked with and they get great results and all of that. So that's how I got into the business. Some of the results have been outstanding, but we may get to talking about those stories later on in the interview.
Okay, so how old were you when your dad died?
I was like 15 years
Okay.
ago. Yeah, our
Um,
youngest then was like 6. So he didn't even know my dad very well, but he's a medical consultant now. So,
okay.
so we're very lucky to get education. All of us got education, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it was really very good.
Okay. So were you going to school in, is it Nigeria you going to school?
Yeah, we were in Nigeria at the time. I went to school in Nigeria. I went to uni in Nigeria. Before I even came here, I was already a chartered accountant. And when I got here, so I was applying for jobs, and they will pretend not to understand my qualifications.
Really?
Yeah, so they will say, "Oh, you don't have UK experience." So I was say, "Okay, what do I do next?" So I started ACCA. ACCA is equivalent of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. So I started it from the scratch, and I passed it in 18 months. I became a
Wow.
qualified accountant ACCA in 18 months.
Well, you
So,
knew all the material already, hadn't
sorry?
you? You knew all the material already.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's the annoyance is why do you have to put me through all of this again? Actually, it was a lot easier to pass ACCA than to pass the Nigerian version of it, because it was a lot tougher. So yeah, so I started out, and then so I got my first job in an accounting firm, and then, worked for about uh 13, 15 years before I started my business. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, that's very interesting. So you were an accountant for 14 years and then you started is it your e-commerce business?
Yeah, then I did the e-commerce business for a few years, then I sold it, and then I felt, oh, where do I go next? And then coaching invited me, and I did not refuse that invitation, and it's been great
Okay.
since then. Yeah.
So when you were doing e-commerce, what were you selling?
It was I was actually importing stuff from UK, US, China for businesses and individuals to Nigeria.
Oh,
And it was all based online at the time.
yes.
When we started, the banking in Nigeria wasn't as sophisticated as it was now. People would buy online, they would go and withdraw cash and pay it into our account. That was how crude it was at the time.
Okay.
Um, but now everywhere we have ATM everywhere and you can do it. Actually, the banking in Nigeria now is so sophisticated,
Mm.
even better than here. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah, in terms of controls and protection and all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, brilliant. So you were importing. So what were the items you were importing? Was it
All,
clothing? Was
all,
it food, electronics, fashion?
all items we connect. Have you seen Alibaba? Do you know
Yeah,
about?
yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we connected with all those companies. So people will go online and connect through us to those companies and buy those stores.
Oh, I see.
So we
Nice.
now bring them for them and deliver to them.
Okay, brilliant. Wonderful. Okay, well, that sounds really good. And you were probably ahead of your time at that.
Exactly. That was the
Yeah.
point. I think I got the idea from when I was doing MBA. So we did a case study on eBay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so and I said, that's interesting. So there was a company in China that copied eBay's model, and they did really, really very well. And I thought, okay, I'm not gonna do auction. How about actually buy directly for people? So, and that's what we did. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that sounds really good. So, while you were doing your accountancy, how did you find that? Did you find that you had many clients and you were wondering, how you could help them improve their income?
No, when I was in accounting, I was working my last role was a director of finance and corporate services.
Ah,
So I was working for corporate and I left that to start that business I told you about. So yeah.
okay. The coaching business. Okay. So when you started your coaching business, how did you get your first few clients?
Okay. My first client was actually, okay, I wrote a book. So I wrote a book called Gold Mine of Your Mind. So
Mm.
immediately after, when I was wondering what to do, so I wrote a book. I actually really enjoyed writing it. I think it's about 300-page book. It's on personal development and entrepreneurship. Um, so people started reading that book. I launched it, put it on Amazon. It was bestseller on Amazon and, launched it, took it to Nigeria, I'll do seminars and then, sell the book. Some of the books I give away, I give to schools and all of that, trying to give back and make a difference in other people's lives. A little bit about the book. I think about 2 or 3 years ago, it was my birthday and people were sending me messages. One of those people, I didn't remember who it was, sent me a message and said, "Your book actually changed my life."
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Of all the messages I got that day, I said, "Wow, yeah, that is really touching." Not that that was the first time people would tell me that, but to tell me that on my birthday was really fulfilling. I didn't remember the individual, so
Mm,
that is the impact we make when we share our gifts.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So how many years have you been coaching now?
We'll be going to about 10 years now. 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in terms of your number of clients,
Mhm.
would you say you have more than 10, more than 20, more than 30, more than 100 clients?
No, I don't do crazy numbers. I have few, I choose my client. My clients don't choose me.
Ooh, excuse me, sir.
No, on a serious note, I'll tell you why. Okay? Coaching is not for everyone. Yeah? Actually, no one needs coaching. But do you want coaching? Do you want someone who will not tolerate your limiting beliefs, will not allow you to sell yourself short? Do you want someone who believes in the genius and the power within you? Someone who believes in the dreams and the goals that you set for yourself and will make sure that you do whatever it takes to get there. Do you need someone like that? If you don't, you don't. If you want, you want. So when I speak to my clients, when I speak to prospects, I'm looking for signs whether they're a good fit or not. Yeah? So you may ask, what is a good fit, right? So let's say me and you, we have a session, and at the end of the session, you ask me, oh, how can I work with you? Right? Um, I don't jump and say, oh, we meet once in a week and then this is how much you pay. And no, we haven't, we don't get there that quickly. I want to find out, are you committed to actually making the changes that you want? Yeah. Are you committed to actually achieving those dreams that you told me about? Yeah. Do you bring a challenge to the table? Yeah. Um, do you know that there is work involved? So if they answer all those questions and I am happy that they will do what they promise to do, because most people are in pains, but they don't want to change. Yeah.
Hmm,
Um, most people are
that,
stuck,
that's
but
quite profound.
yeah, yeah. But the truth is, they love the familiarity. Yeah. Okay, let me explain that. Familiarity. So I've seen some people, their wife leaves, yeah,
Hmm.
and because they cannot deal with life without that wife, sometimes they go kill themselves or they go into depression because
Mm.
it's a changed life that they do not expect. They do not want the unknown. They can't face lack of familiarity. Yeah. So most people say, oh, what's the greatest human instinct is survival. No, it's not survival, it's familiarity.
Wow.
Most problems are shrouded in denial, and the reason why people deny the existence of the problem is familiarity. Yeah, it's not that people can't see the solutions, it is that they can't see the problems.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, because Albert Einstein said, if I had a problem, and my life depended on it, yeah, I will spend 55 minutes looking for the right questions, Because if I can't find the right questions, I'll solve that problem in 5 minutes. Yeah. So
Oh.
as a coach, we don't tell people what to do. We guide them with questions to reach a conclusion, to get an insight about what they think they are going through.
Mm.
And insight, the simplest way I can describe an insight is the moment you see something, you cannot unsee it. The moment you see something, you cannot unsee it. So it comes back to it's not that people can't see the solution, it's that they can't see the problems. So the moment they can see the problems, it takes 5 minutes to solve it. But how do you get to seeing the problem? That's part of what coaching is about, is for you. Every one of us, we have great potentials. Everyone, no exception. Yeah. Um, what stops people is the block.
Mm.
Yeah. What stops most people is the block, our beliefs.
Mm.
Beliefs. So block may be in form of doubt. It comes in different shades for different individuals. For some people, it may be doubt. So they set these big goals and then they don't believe it. So if you don't believe you can get it, can you put in 100%? No,
Mm.
no,
Mm.
you can't. Some people it's fear, and fear has like so many variants. Fear of rejection, fear of success, fear of failure, all kinds of fear. I think I'll tell you a story. Um, do you know Henry Ford?
Who?
Henry Ford invented the
The
Ford. If you see
cars.
Ford cars,
Yeah.
that guy invented. That was more than 100 years ago. He died more than 100 years ago. Henry Ford was a watch repairer, broke at 40.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By 60, he was one of the richest men in the world. And people were asking him, what's the secret? What's the secret? He said, if I tell you the secret, you will not believe it. Because of the simplicity of that secret. Yeah. They said, tell us anyway. And this is what he said. An absence of fear of the future and lack of veneration for the past. So veneration for the past means regret about the past. Yeah.
Mm.
So absence of fear of the future and lack of veneration for the past. He said, he who fears failure limits his activities.
Mm.
That is the most important part of that quote. He who fears failure limits his activities because you don't know what's going to work. You don't know. If you think you know, you don't. If you think you know, you're tracking back to the past.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the past has no bearing on the future, except if you let it. Yeah?
Mm.
So that Henry Ford's quote, I just cut it out. I wrote it out in a big letter and I pasted it on my wall for years and years because that's the key to freedom.
Mm.
If you don't have fear of the future, you attempt anything. There's nothing you can't do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he added, failure is only an opportunity to begin again. more intelligently.
Okay.
Yeah, failure is an opportunity to begin again more intelligently. So, when we talk about coaching, uh, if I sit in front of a client, sometimes I will ask them questions and they will say, how did you know that? I was coaching a woman last week and and I asked her a question. I said, why do you think you have to correct all the inequalities and injustices in the world? Yeah. And
Mm,
because some of these beliefs will just, it's a block. Yeah. And if it remains, some people will go to their grave with those blocks. And
mm,
all the full potentials within them may not be realized. Yeah.
absolutely. It
And
happens to
I
many.
Yeah, I asked her the question. I said, Why do you think you are the one to right all the injustices and inequalities in the world?" And she
Mm.
looked up and she was almost crying. I said, Why are you crying? She said, But I never told you anything like that. Yeah, I said, You don't have to tell me. Um, as I'm sitting in front of you, what's going on in your mind? I'm feeling it. I'm picking it up. It's a vibration. Yeah. So that's the difference between people who have the gift and those people who just are in it just to make money.
Mm,
So that's the difference. So to
mm.
your question, I have very few clients and I'm selective about who I work with. It's not cheap, I
Yeah.
must say. So it's not cheap, but you get what you paid for
Mm,
in that sense. And what I've also noticed is for the clients and for me, when you're paying me so much, I bring my A game to the table because you have to achieve your goals. And I
yeah.
don't let you off easily.
Okay.
I'm a very friendly person. As a coach, I am very firm.
Mm.
I am very firm, and I tell them that from the beginning. Listen, are you sure you want to do this? Because, yeah, I will be the one to tell you the truth. It might not be comfortable for me to tell you the truth, but I'll tell you anyway, because I'm here to serve you, not to please you. That's
Okay,
the
so
answer.
give me some ideas of transformation that you have brought about in terms of when someone came to you and when by the time you finish, I don't know, 6 months, a year,
Mhm.
whenever, what were the transformation? Tell us in terms of their reach, their income multiplication, and give us an idea of how effective you've been. You don't
Okay.
have to give names, of course.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't even give names because that's the first thing I tell my clients is confidentiality is key. It's not just because it is professional. It is because if they don't have that assurance, they're gonna hide. They want to look good. Yeah. And then we won't be able to get to the root of their problems. Yeah.
Mm,
So,
mm,
one example, I actually did, one client just called me from the blues and said, we need to do a testimonial. I'll share that testimonial with you. Okay. I'll share the testimonial with you, but she was very open about everything, right? In that interview. She said, when we started, I kept an open mind because you asked me to keep an open mind. But that from the second week, she started seeing changes, not just in her behavior, but changes in her level of happiness, changing in her level of opportunities coming her way. Uh, she was abused as a child. Yeah, she was abused by her father, sexually abused by her father as a child. When people go through things like that, that's all they think about.
Mm.
That's all they think about all day long. So, simple solution, which I gave her during the session. First week, she came back, she didn't do it. I said, I'm gonna call off your questions if you don't do it. Because it was what I asked her to do was simple, but mentally she couldn't get herself to do it. So she eventually did it. And then the week after, I said, I wonder why I was reluctant to do it in the first place, that the change has been dramatic. She started getting opportunities. Yeah,
Mm.
opportunities started coming to her. She got someone in US with millions and millions of followers to work with her.
Mm.
And that person invited her to a session in London with over 1,000 people, put her on stage, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, and those were just opening for her. Corporates were asking her to come and work for them, sell her services and all of that. All of that is in that interview. I will share it with you because she said, I need the world to know about the work that you do. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That's what she said. She said, what I paid you, I will happily pay 10 times more for the work that you've done for me. So this testimonial is the least I can do to make sure that it's not for you to make money. That I know money is not your motivation, but it's for more people to get out of trouble, for more people to live a more purposeful life and more happier life.
Mm.
Because I always talk about don't look at people and envy them
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know what's going on in their mind. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's going on in their lives. Be
Yeah,
on your
true.
own lane. I coached a woman, she's one of from a rich family in US. Um, she was on all the antidepressants you can think of. Two,
Wow.
yeah,
Not just one, many.
two children, lovely husband, loving husband, inherited a lot of money, but she felt she was worthless.
Oh.
Yeah, that's people do not understand. They're working so hard to pass wealth to their children. Don't do that. Yeah. You know why? It is because people don't understand human motivation. And I will tell you why. Let me tell you the story of this woman. She felt she has no purpose in life because she was feeling guilty about inheriting so much money to the level that she didn't have to work.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she was feeling like what's my purpose in life? This is a very brilliant woman. She got degrees and everything. She got everything. Everyone looking from outside in will envy, will want to have, but she wasn't happy. Yeah. She actually coached with me for about 6 months. Now she's an author. Now she's helping people as a coach, people, rich kids like herself. Yeah. In that state of mind, she's helping them
Mm.
and she's found her purpose. That is why it is important for us to don't go and do something that will make you the most money. Do something that will give you purpose, that will give you satisfaction that you're making contribution to the world. One of my clients, I was in a session with uh was it about today's Wednesday or Monday? Yeah. She told me her cousin, I think the father was a lawyer in Nigeria. Um, you know, the father has so much money that these children they didn't have to work. This guy died at age of 54 through drug overdose. Now So why was she telling me the story? Was she was feeling guilty? She was
Oh.
feeling guilty that they had a disagreement. Okay, so they were talking about, oh, why don't you have a relationship? You're in your 50s, there are a lot of women out there. Find someone. She said, oh, no, 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 they're all after my money. Yeah. And then my client said, get off it. What kind of money are you talking about? No, now only you get money. That's exactly the way she put it. Forget about that. Find someone. Then the guy got angry that, why will you talk? And she started shouting at her. So she, withdrew. He tried to call her. She didn't pick the call. Now, she now died before she could reconcile with her. So she was dealing with that guilt. So that was what she brought to the session. So anyway, to cut a long story short, is don't look at people, don't view people's lives as perfect because of what they have.
Mm,
It's about what's going on in people's mind, what's going on in their lives.
mm,
That's what is important. And pay attention to what's going on in your own mind. There are people without money that are extremely happy. I'm not preaching against money at all. I love money too. I want to do good things with money. Yeah. But I'm saying don't compare yourself to others.
yeah.
Stay in your own lane.
And sometimes people feel that when they have a lot of money, they'll be happy, but that doesn't necessarily correlate.
Even let's even leave money out of it. Let's look at simple goals that we set for ourselves. Yeah, yeah. Before I became a chartered accountant, I said, if I just could be, I will read. I will wake up 4 a.m. and I go and I said, okay, what is that? All there is to it? So it's like life is. It's not about what we get. It's about managing our mind. Part of the reason some of these things I'm telling you is in my book, Gold Mine Up Your Mind.
Mm,
It is for people to realize that the mind is everything. If we don't manage it, ignorance is not an excuse. It's like gravity. If I jump down from the second story of my building, I'll get myself hurt. If whether I'm a cleaner or I'm a billionaire, the same thing will happen. Yeah, if I jump out of my window of my second story building or third story building, you're going down. It's a law. It's a natural law. That's not the only law.
mm,
There are so many other laws, laws of
mm.
rhythms, laws of vibration, laws of polarity. All of these things are we're banging against those laws several times in a day and we're not aware. But ignorance is not an excuse. You bang against those laws, you get kicked, beaten, battered.
Yeah,
So,
indeed, you
so
do. And then you wonder why, huh?
you wonder why is the other person not suffering that way? That person is obeying the law, and you're
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
So there are so many of those laws. People should also learn to read, learn about life, learn about the laws of life. Um,
Hmm.
there is a lot of people running around law of attraction and stuff like that. That's not the only law. That's
Mm.
a small element of part of the natural laws that we operate within that we need to pay attention to. And if you can't learn, find someone who can help you.
Okay, brilliant. Right, tell me about some examples of perilous times or tumultuous times that you have had in your life that you stuck through it, you were resilient, and you came out in a positive frame of mind. Tell us about those times.
Oh, there are so many. There are so many. I just told you one at the beginning, when I lost my dad. And the reason why that was painful for me was I was his favorite kid. This man
Oh,
was a disciplinarian, but you know, what other siblings wouldn't get away with, I would get away with it. And he would take
mm,
me everywhere. So unfortunately, yeah, what I learned from that is actually shaped my life. Um, because when you faced adversity, most people they terminate their own lives because they can't face adversity. They can't face the unknown.
yeah.
Sometimes you need to build character, and you also need to know that when you face difficulty, you're gonna come out of it. Yeah.
Mm,
Another relevant example, my immediate sister, I put that in my book as well. My immediate sister died about 15 years ago, and
mm,
my life was turned upside down because of that.
mm.
Um, people, there's something called pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is so the story of my sister in a nutshell is when a woman is picking the wrong kind of man, yeah, and you tell them and they won't listen to you.
Oh,
Yeah. My sister picked the wrong man and I saw it straight away. I'm very intuitive. I saw it straight away and I said, don't do that. This man is not suitable for you. Um, he said, what, my sister was very respectful and very loving, but she told me point blank, what business of yours is it?
oh no.
So when this man started abusing her, beating her up, and all of that, she didn't let me know. They didn't. My other sister was aware, but they didn't let me know. They didn't let her mom know. Um, so when she threatened to leave, it was in Nigeria. When she threatened to leave, this psychopath organized to kill her in a contrived armed robbery as she was driving to the bank and took
Oh,
1 million naira from her that she was taking to the bank.
oh no.
She survived. She survived. They shot her like, several times in the stomach.
What?
Yeah. So she got to the hospital. Uh, the doctors did a lot of work. They actually saved that she was alive. Oh, we were so relieved. And, part of the problem in our country is the doctors are good, but there aren't enough resources to actually look after people. If she was here, she wouldn't have died. Anyway, so
Oh no.
they took out, they wanted to operate and remove the bullet, but they said that will cause a bit of damage, that she should heal first, and then they would then operate to take out the bullets. But then that bullet started causing blood clots.
Oh no.
So on the day that she was meant to leave the hospital to be discharged, she suffered a heart attack based on that blood clot just blocked her airway, and they couldn't
Oh.
save her. She was seen in the hospital and they couldn't save her. So, so I was coming back from, I think I was underground. I was underground at the time. And so I came out of underground and I saw like 20 missed calls. Oh, I panicked. I knew this is not normal. So about 20 missed calls from my sister. So
Mm.
I was
It's,
thinking, could that be my mom? Because she already, we believe that she already survived that. What could this be? I knew this wouldn't be good news. So I called her back and she told me
oh,
I just went to pieces. Um,
oh,
so now, because of my knowledge, I said I'm gonna set a time frame to mourn, and after that, I'm gonna do something in her name. So I wanted to write a book, but I wasn't prepared. I kept procrastinating it. Yeah, that's part of the problem we face in life. Challenges will get you to take actions. So I mourned her for 3 days. I couldn't eat. I was just
oh,
crying. Yeah. So after 3 days, I said, okay, now what do you want to create in our memory? So that's when I started writing the book. I finished that book in 9 months.
mm,
And at the time, I was running a business. I had young family. I was busy. Yeah. I wake up 4 a.m. in the morning and I would just start writing. The flow was just coming to me.
mm,
Yeah. And people said, yeah, they could feel the emotion through, coming, through the pages of those books, because I was so
mm.
determined to make it the best it can be because it's for my sister. Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah. So that, in one of the chapters, I call it the gift of crisis. It tells me that You know, Aurelio, if you know, Aurelio is a very wise king. I think it's maybe in the 17th century or something. He said, we think, okay, don't you think that you're going to live 10,000 years? Don't act as if you're going to live 10,000 for 10,000 years. He said, death hangs over you. So these are notes he was writing to himself. And they said he was one of the most effective individual in the world. But he writes himself notes so that he will do what he needs to do. So he wrote that note to himself that um, don't act as if you're going to live for 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. Whatever it is that you want to do, you better do it now.
yeah.
Instead of
Now, now,
doing it
now.
now, 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 now. So,
Absolutely.
so that's I think if there was anything, actually my dad's death wasn't as painful as that of my sister because I never
Oh,
thought, that would ever happen because I was like 6 years older than her.
okay.
Um, and yeah, I also put it in the book. I was a sick child.
Mm,
So
mm,
that's why I didn't have a sister. I didn't have another sibling until very late. That, they even thought at some point that, oh, they were going to lose this child. But I've been so healthy, ever
mm.
since. So,
Okay.
so probably I have, that's what I do sometimes. I just think and I reflect. I say, why did I even survive that as a child? That means I'm here to fulfill a purpose. Better get on and do
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. Definitely a purpose.
Yeah.
Wow. Did they catch her husband in the end, your sister's husband?
No. It's in Nigeria, for goodness sake. No, he actually took all our properties because my sister was very industrious. She was a born entrepreneur. I think, that's within all our family, but she was the best entrepreneur. She would go
Oh
to Dubai,
no.
buy gold, she had several houses, several landed properties. She had trucks working for companies, you know. Yeah. That's the reason why he organized that terrible act. He got away with it, but he didn't get away with it because he finished all that money very quickly. If you're not the one that did the work,
Mm,
I told my mom. My mom was still alive then. I told her, I said, leave everything for her. What do you need? Everything you need, will provide for you.
mm,
Leave everything for her. So
mm.
because my sister was living closer to her at the time. So 2 days, this man did not cry for
Wow.
1 second. Even when they were burying her, she was eating food as if food is going to run away. Yeah. Uh,
Oh
yeah, I
no.
mean, it's a personal story, but people can learn from it because when something keeps happening over and over and over again,
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I call pattern recognition. Yeah.
Mm,
Um, if you keep bumping into the same brick wall over and over again, that means you're bumping against the law,
mm,
bumping against natural laws. You need to change course
mm,
and help or do something different.
mhm,
Okay. Um, and then what I also realize is uh people don't give themselves the chance to fail. So what does that mean? Uh, let's say something will take A to Z. Yeah. People will work very hard at the beginning. They're very passionate about what they are doing. So I tell business people, passion is not enough. You need
mm,
more than passion.
mhm,
Something that will take A to Z. Then they work very hard at the beginning because of the energy, the passion. Then they get to G, yeah, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, they get there, they hit a brick wall. Yeah,
mm.
so then they turn back. They go start
Really?
something else.
Oh,
Yeah, but
yeah.
if they manage to get through G, H, yeah, it's easier from there on.
Mm,
Yeah. So is that is what I call a terror barrier.
mm,
Terror barrier is when you get to a place where you need to grit your teeth and go through it, or tunnel
mhm,
under it, or jump over it.
mhm.
People will take the path of least resistance, so they will go back and start something else. But that something else will get to that point as well. So then they go back and start something else. Or someone, you're doing something and you're close to result. I don't know if you read the book Think and Grow Rich. There was a man who borrowed a lot of money to dig for gold. So they started digging and they got some gold and they were happy. They thought, we have arrived. Yeah.
Mm.
So they took that to the smelter to purify and all of that. And then they came back to dig and then gold disappeared. No more gold.
Oh,
Yeah. They they tried again and again and again. No, nothing. And then they sold the equipment and everything to a junk man. And then they retreated back home. And the junk man, most junk men are dumb. This one is not. Called in an engineer and said, please investigate what's happening here. And the engineer did the calculation and says it's called fault line, that if they dig just 3 feet more, it's the biggest gold reserve in that area. So the junk man
Wow.
took millions, and those people who invested the money took nothing, but they learned some lessons from that.
Wow.
Yeah. So people can learn their lesson from there. When it becomes, if you're doing something and it's really, really difficult, persevere a little bit more because behind that, um, there is opportunity.
Mm.
Like my daughter came home one day and said, "Dad, I've been made redundant." Yeah, okay. Given that, what do you want to create? I said behind that adversity, there is a an opportunity lurking behind it. If you focus all your mind on the present adversity, that's where you're gonna stay. It's part of the natural law.
Mm.
If you
Mm.
focus on what you're experiencing, what your senses can experience, what you can see, what you can feel at this moment, if that's what you focus on, that's what you're gonna get. That's simple law of attraction. So park that aside. Know that behind that adversity, there is an opportunity. Someone might be listening to this and they need what we're talking about here. If you're going through adversity at this point in time, know that behind it, there is an opportunity. You know,
Mm.
it brings me to the law of rhythm. The law of rhythm means you have waves, you have tides of life. Sometimes it goes up, it comes down. Nature is just telling us something.
Mm.
Yeah?
Mm.
Nature is telling us something that reflects our existence. Yeah?
Mm.
You have winter, then you have spring, then you have summer, then you have autumn. Summer will not follow summer. So sometimes when you're in the winter of life, know that spring is close and then summer will follow.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
nature is always telling us something.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't pay attention. Even night and day, yeah? It is darkest when it's closer to morning.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
so darkness of the night will not be followed by darkness of the night.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the rhythm of life. And there
Okay.
is also mental rhythm. Mental rhythm is there is a time that we feel on top of the world. We can move a mountain literally if we try, yeah? Then there
Yeah.
are times we are low energy. So that's when you need a coach,
Mm.
yeah, to shift your energy from low energy back into flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Flow, there is a guy who wrote a book, Mihai Mihai. It's a professor of psychology. He wrote that book, Flow. Flow is a state of mind where you're acting like something is in control. You're not the one in control. You're not conscious of what you're doing, but you're in flow. You're doing it effortlessly. Yeah.
Mm.
If
Mm.
you see like Usain Bolt, you know, he wasn't, I think he was beaten a few times in the whole of his career. It's not about talent. It's about knowing how to switch into flow. Because when they're starting the race, joking around, laughing with people and all of that, and the moment they said, on your mark, he's in a state of flow. and he knows how to bring himself into a state of flow. We can do that with our work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He has a ritual that he goes through in his mind to bring him into that into a state of flow where, you know, he's not afraid, he's not nervous, but he has energy.
Yeah, yeah,
So, I give my clients exercises on how to get into flow
yeah.
in what they do.
Mm,
Yeah. Even when I coach people, I will get into a state of flow myself because the state I'm in will affect the state of the person in front of me.
mm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
So, and if I can transfer my state onto their state, even without us saying a word, their state of mind by the time they finish coaching and the time they started, I usually ask clients, I say, what's the difference between when you started and now that we're done with this session? What's the difference? How do you feel?
mm,
Always, always, they feel
mm-hmm.
energized. They feel powerful. They feel they can do anything. And that's the goal.
Yeah, of course it is.
So if people are in that time and time and time again, it's a question of habit. Let's develop good habits.
Yes, yes.
Even our thinking is a matter of habits. Yeah?
Mm,
Some people they are in the habit of being hungry.
mm-hmm,
It doesn't matter what's going on around them. It doesn't matter what they've achieved. They are hungry.
mm,
Yeah, that's what their life is about. So there is need for transformation instead of a state of anger being a state of flow. Um,
Do you
yeah,
think do you think sometimes you almost being a therapist as well as a coach?
yeah. Well, therapy is about the past. Coaching is about the future.
Okay.
Being a therapist, if it helps people to address their past, because most beliefs are in the past. We
Mm,
got all our beliefs from the past. If we have to work with people to change that, because most people will go through life carrying those beliefs with them. So if
yes.
the belief you have or the blocks you have will affect you getting to your dream, yes, we'll work on it. We'll help you clear that.
Mm,
Yeah. There is
yeah.
an exercise I call clearing doubts and fear. Yeah. Clearing doubts and fear. Um, Everyone has it, but you should know how to manage it. You should know how to control it that it doesn't control you. So that's a simple question. There are a few questions in that exercise that you ask yourself, and your answer to it will provide you with how to go about things.
Mm,
So
okay.
that's important because faith. Okay, so let's talk entrepreneurship now. Okay. Entrepreneurship is different from employment by a mile. Yeah.
Yes.
So if I'm in employment, I work for 30 days, I get my pay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't need to have faith to get my salary because it's coming. Yeah. As an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you do a lot of work that there is no certainty you get paid for. Yeah. You may even do the work for like 3 years without getting paid for it. But when the pay comes, it comes in droves. Yeah? Let's take networking for instance, because people don't realize the power in networking. Um, I met a guy about 5 years ago at a networking event. The thing with me is I don't network to get business, I network to build relationship.
Mm,
You know, that's why me and you were still talking. We've met like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Um, I think online, but we've kept that relationship going. Sometimes last year the guy just called me from nowhere and said, Ayo, you know what? I've got a client who needs a coach. Can you help? Say, yeah, that's what I do. And she sent this woman to me. She coached with me for a year and
mm,
paid over 30,000 pounds.
mm, mm,
So if that's the work I did 5 years ago,
mhm,
so if I met that individual and I thought, okay, it's not a client and I forget about him, it's not gonna remember me.
mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm saying that to educate people about business. You need to have faith that what you're doing will work out in the end.
Mhm,
Yeah. And that is where the power is actually is for you to uh, believe,
mm,
believe that what I'm doing, what I haven't seen these things, but I believe that it is coming. Yeah. People start businesses, sometimes it fails, but it's okay. You can't be afraid of that. Start again, begin again more intelligently, like Ford said. Um, so yeah.
okay. Well, I think we've had a coaching session today. So thank you very much, Ayo. You've got some amazing words of wisdom,
All
and
right.
I'm sure a few people would have been touched by that. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experience.
Mm,
Um, it's sad sometimes what we have to go through in life, and you just never know what's around the corner. Sometimes things are going, and I say this to my children sometimes. Sometimes things are going smoothly, and lots of wonderful thing happens.
mhm.
But then around the corner there's some issues, some fallout, some
Yeah.
tragedy, or
Mm,
some disappointment.
yeah.
And this is what life is like. It's up, it's down, as you rightly said.
Yeah.
Um, and we have to be resilient. And it's good that there are people like yourself who can help, particularly where entrepreneurship is concerned, because as you rightly said, it's very different to working, where you're
Mm,
just doing what someone says. You don't necessarily have to think sometimes.
mhm.
Um, but being a business person is actually very different, and we should probably all have coaches. So thank you for that. We'll put your details underneath the video, and hopefully a few people will contact you and have a chat, and you can take it forward from there.
Absolutely. And let me thank you again for sharing because I love sharing messages, not for any other motive other than to help. And if people are interested in talking to me, I'm happy to talk to them. If they are coming from you, coming from Dawn, I actually give them a free session to see if they're a good fit to work with or not.
Mm.
And yeah, if they mention they're coming from you or based on this interview, then they get a free session.
All right, fantastic. And how long is the session?
Um, 1 hour?
1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, fantastic. I will definitely pass that message around. Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me, Don, and thank you to those people listening to us. Hope you've picked one insight or two from our discussion today. All
Oh,
right.
there'll be at
No.
least 10 inside, surely. At least 10. Thank you, Ayo.
All right. Okay. Take care, Don.
Take care.